We're live. This is fantastic. So the title today is Sniffing Out Narcissistic Behavior. I realized I had put in niffing. So, what is this? Like, why is this downloading to me? And why am I sharing this? We are now at a critical point in humanity and in awakening. And we need people to wake up. And we need people that are awakening to be supporting other people that are awakening. It's a quintessential part of the process. And what I have noticed is a lot of behavior around narcissism and getting rid of people out of your life, and many different stories about how you're getting good. People are getting good at keeping narcissists away and that sort of thing. And what we learn about narcissism and narcissists in our culture, in the psychology of our culture, is so unhealthy and so bad for people. And why I say that is because it is a dualistic way to look at a human being, meaning that it only is like one person's a good person and the other person's a bad person. In our culture, we have villainized the narcissist and we have victimized the codependent. And that is a real disservice. And I know this firsthand, not from learning in any textbook. I'm talking about my own humiliation of coming to understand my own codependency and how my codependency is actually narcissism. And because I allowed a narcissistic story by people, I recognized after I learned that I was enabling their story because of some kind of, I wanted to be the good person. And so the people pleaser, And then when you unpack and you actually see what ends up happening, you see the destructive nature of codependency. And it's not just, codependency is not just destructive to the person who is codependent. It is destructive to everybody that comes into contact, because it was always me not willing to stand up and for different reasons and voice my truth. And it was always an egoic reason. I always wanted to be the bigger man and this kind of thing. And so anyway, we need to stop it. We need light workers. We need people awakening, people who are trying to figure this whole mess out. We need to stop acting like people are all the same. If we're on a journey to discover our unconscious, if we're on a journey to find out about love, about changing our world, then we need to stop beating people up. And anytime that you see a little tiny bit of bad behavior, you run for the hills and say, oh, I'm not going to deal with another narcissist. And here's the biggest reason that I will tell you, and the most humiliating thing that happened to me along my path. And it's good. Humiliation's actually a good thing, so I don't want to say that as a bad thing. But yeah, to go through humiliation is not all that fun, but it's humbling and it brings in perspective. What I came to understand is that when I got gun shy, when I would run into narcissistic behavior in people, I got gun shy because it was like, how much am I going to take? And then I discovered my own codependency. And the idea is that it is a equal function, codependency and narcissism. So narcissism is simply thinking of self before others. Codependency is thinking of others before self. And so what do you do to rectify this dysfunction or this imbalance? You get to this point where you're thinking of yourself and you're thinking of others at the same time. And that's called interdependency. The interesting thing is if we're gun shy and we're so proud that we are not the bad person in it, in relationships or whatever else, and we consider ourselves a narcissist hunter. We can spot a narcissist from a mile away, but it doesn't do any good. And the other problem is that we will oftentimes, and I know I probably did this in my path, was that I would mistake narcissism for magnificence. And what does that mean? Well, oftentimes if somebody is confident, we can just think, oh, well, they're a narcissist. And, and that could show up in a lot of different ways, not just, confidence in one area. But it's this is a really easy way to tell if somebody is actually a narcissist or are they just magnificent. And we need to start to be attracted to interdependency, to people who love themselves, who see their magnificence, because that's the only time we actually see ourselves is when we're interdependent. And if we are so focused on narcissism and narcissists, we don't ever look at the codependent self. And then what do? We are actually running from situations. We are not in alignment with love. We are not building the world that we want to create. So how do we determine? Well, I come from more of a corporeal level, more physical level, a more psychological level, rather than speaking in more esoteric terms. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just we have different language. For me, it's about the reason that I do that mostly is because it's an experience and I feel the experiences, and then I've learned to come to trust my own experiences. And so how can you tell if somebody's a narcissist compared to just demonstrating their own magnificence? And it's easy. With narcissism comes arrogance. And with arrogance comes entitlement. So let me repeat that. With narcissism comes arrogance, and with arrogance comes entitlement. And so what does that look like? It means that if they share something good with you, then they're entitled to having something good returned back to them. And now the first reaction might be to you is, well, ew, ick. Yeah, it doesn't feel good. Yeah, it doesn't. Nobody likes arrogance. You especially don't want to find the arrogance in yourself. But the thing is I don't even look at it. I look at it from a beauty standpoint, in that if I'm arrogant, that means I'm entitled. And if I'm entitled, then that wipes whatever I'm entitled to, and I hold a feeling of entitlement, whatever that is, that whatever it is, I cannot accept gratitude for what I've been given. Entitlement shrinks our ability to see beauty. We literally can't see beauty. So I don't see it as this narcissist as just these horrible people, because it's just a dysfunction of the control paradigm. And if we want to get out of the control paradigm, we have to start questioning our own behavior. We have to start questioning our mental health system. And let me just run you really quick through our mental health system. Let's just say we had a culture, and I'm being a little bit, I don't want to say sarcastic, but I'm being a little punchy towards maybe dysfunction within our culture. If we have a cultural agreement, and you are in this culture, and I'm in this culture, and if we have agreed within our culture to not take care of people that are the most at risk, that are at the bottom of the hierarchy, then that literally is the definition of narcissism. It is saying that one person is better than another person. It's thinking of self before thinking of others. It's the definition of narcissism. And it's a collective narcissism. If we make that agreement, then it's a collective narcissism. We all have to own it. And, for the people that believe in the system that we have and take the hard line that, just some people are going to be collateral damage, well, that's fine. That's their perspective. And that's a way of looking at the world, that we came here to climb on top of each other in order to get to the top. But there's a lot of us that don't believe that. And we believe that if we help others rise, we will rise. Or if we rise, other people will rise with us. Can do that. And that is literally the definition of interdependency. But what I'm seeing in our spiritual awakening groups and these kind of things and in personal interactions are people still holding on to psychology from a sick culture. Because even our psychological empirical data that we collect is based upon whether or not the person is functional within our culture. But it doesn't ask us if our culture is dysfunctional. And so, what is the collateral damage from that? The collateral damage is easy. We pump people full of drugs so that they can, antidepressants, so they can function within our crappy culture. And people think that they have these horrible diagnoses that they get from popular psychology. And once you unpack it, you will find that those are just boxes, just like our education system, that people want to put you in because it makes it easier to deal with you and put you to the side. So I want to wrap this up by saying, be open. I would stress, be open, be more vulnerable to being wrong about somebody. You can give people, instead of a reactive chance, you could give them a chance. Always be safe, but be vulnerable, and then find out if they can step into it and they can deal with it. Because people who are magnificent, if you come at them and say that they're acting like a narcissist, or if you feel judged by them, they will not argue with you, because we understand that if you hold a position that I'm a narcissist or other person's a narcissist, you will not be open to seeing something different. You will only feel proud of yourself that you pushed another human being out of your life. And that's what we don't need right now. And it's interesting because I didn't really understand the control paradigm, which is what we live in our culture and in the world. It's what we create all of our ideas out of. Well, not all of them, but a lot of our ideas come out of the control. And if I talk to people about, how they've learned finances, it's about they've learned it from the control paradigm. So what I've learned is that when you get to an interdependent state, when you do not need to climb on top of anybody and you do not need to give your power away to somebody, you are interdependent. And what that does is that freed up my mind from judgment and basically sending a loop of prejudice, value prejudices through my mind. And then it started to, I started to develop a natural sense. And then it didn't matter what people said. I could feel their energy. If they were coming to include me in their dramatic, their drama narrative that they've got playing out in their world, and they're inviting me into that, they're going to do it in a narcissistic way and basically say, if I don't get involved with their drama, then I'm a bad person. Well, my crap meter is like, it's so fine-tuned now that just the tiniest little hint of being invited into a control story, I feel it immediately. And I don't fight it. That's the thing about interdependency. If you have a position where you believe that this is the way the world works, I just say go and enjoy whatever it is that you're going to experience from that point of view. I'm not going to argue with you. I got other business to do. In an interdependent state, just to keep going, I just keep going. In an interdependent state, we don't move from lack. We don't move from not wanting to be bad. We move towards beauty. We move towards actual love. Love is how we experience, or how I experience real love. Because love can be described, and it is oftentimes described in our culture. If you were to take a couple apart, they will tell you they're completely in love. If you took apart their story, you'd find out that what they love about each other is that they share the same prejudice. And I would say that prejudice is probably not love, because it isn't inclusive. It doesn't include all. Because that's what prejudice does. So, do what you can to lift people, find people, lift yourself, trust yourself. One other thing I want to say about awakening. That thought seems to not want to come up right now. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Oh, I love you all.